Hello everyone, welcome to BayernNow, the ultimate Bayern Munich fan channel. I swear this is like the 53rd time I'm recording this and the last time I'm recording this, god dang it. The last time I'm recording this. But this is a very good show because it would show you the Bayern transfer targets and if we shall get them or not get them, my friend. So, this will literally be like that. These targets, the players that are here are going to be ranked from hot to cold. Hot, cold. Whether or not we can get them, based on the articles that are constantly coming out in the news and the things that are constantly happening in around the club and what you think. So this is also about you. Make sure you write in the comments players you'd like to see at Bayern. So this next week's one is the same. Okay, we're doing this weekly, baby. I can't wait to get started. First, number one. Okay, by the way, this video is really about what Hansi Flick's demands are. But I'm tying it to this because it actually has a very, very good point. You'll like to watch this, okay? It has a very, very good point that I'll keep making. So, number one, Kai Havertz, okay? We won't waste anyone's time. This is probably the most important signing that if Bayern made, this would be a real indication of how Bayern Munich back Hansi Flick. And I'm actually going to read this, okay? This is the list of the 4 managers in the last since 2012, your Pancakes joining 2012, 2011, around that. Since that happened, what Bayern managers did we have and what backings did they get? When I say backing, I mean a manager wants a player and the board act on that and get that manager that player. Now, sometimes a backing could not really necessarily be the manager wants the player and the board gets him. It could be the board get the player before the manager, blah, blah, blah. But your Pancakes, his big backing, I'd say, happened in 2012. I actually think Callens Rummenigge was talking about it. Javi Martinez, at the time, he said the 35 or 40 million, I think, that they spent on Javi Martinez was the equivalent of 100 million today. So they were constantly discussing whether or not they should do that. And it worked because Javi was one of the most important members in that treble season. So that money was well spent. It worked. So your Pancakes got a very, very good player, and he got backed in that regard. Pep Guardiola, coming in 2013, right after Europe won the treble, got Götze and Thiago right away in the same year, same months. Thiago was a Pep signing. Götze was more of a board signing, but Pep Guardiola obviously had to have approved, and we can say Götze flopped, but Thiago definitely didn't. Also, in 2015, Bayern also loaned and also permanently signed Kingsley Coman and Douglas Costa around the same similar times. So Coman was on loan for 2 seasons or a season, and then he got permanently signed in 2017 or 2016. Same with Douglas Costa, and then he was later sold to Juventus, who took him on loan and then sold him, and then we sold him actually. So Pep once again got Götze, Thiago, Coman, and Douglas Costa. 4 players in the span of maybe 2 years to really back himself. I mean, Coman was technically a loan, but we won't talk about that. Carlo Ancelotti coming in after Pep left in 2016. Got Tolisso. A lot of these signings didn't happen like right when Carlo joined. For example, Tolisso was 2017. Carlo got sacked in 2017. But that was a couple months after they still got Tolisso. So the board felt like they backed the manager and then sacked him because he was underperforming with the tools he got. So Tolisso, Renato Sanchez too. Also in 2017, we got 2 midfielders there. I think Rudy left in 2017. No, he left in 2018 after Goretzka came in. And Mats Hummels, that's the first, and I'd say the real big backing, because that happened in 2016. So we were linked to Koulibaly around that time, but we got Hummels. And Carlo Ancelotti got these big men, the big center back, because Bonacci had left. So that was, for me, a backing. That was backing. The board backed Carlo Ancelotti. Niko Kovac got Lucas Hernandez, Pavard, Goretzka, and Sané. In my opinion, I think under Hansi Flick, of course, you can argue that maybe Sané wouldn't have joined us if Kovac was still in charge, and that's probably true. But we would have signed Sané. We were this close to getting Sané before Niko Kovac, or with Niko Kovac in charge, before Hansi Flick even took over. So for me, I see Leroy Sané as still a Niko Kovac signing, because guess what? The only reason we don't have Sané now and we haven't had him for a year is because of the injury. If he never got injured and if City never played him in a useless glorified friendly called the Community Shield or something, we would have Leroy Sané. So Sané, for me, was a Niko Kovac signing. Of course, the manager is Hansi Flick, but in my opinion, I think we would have signed Sane regardless of if we had Flick as manager. We would have signed Sane even if we had Erik ten Hag, and Hansi Flick never really became the manager he is. So who is Hansi Flick's big signing? Because you can only make the case for Sane, but like I just said, it can't be Sane, because Sane was a player that was going to come in regardless of who our manager was. He wanted us, right? He did. He absolutely desired us. Even when we were crap under Kovac, Sane probably still wanted us. He still wanted to come to us in January. He still wanted to be part of this project. And I, for once, think Hansi Flick hasn't been backed. Is Tanguy Kausi a Hansi Flick backing? You could argue, but he's an 18-year-old kid. He's still a prospect. He's not some top signing. When I say a manager deserves to be backed, I think you have to back him to the fullest extent. And that player would be Kai Havertz. Hansi Flick has said it in a press conference a couple weeks ago. He said he didn't know what manager wouldn't want Kai Havertz in their team. That is a manager's indirect way of saying, I want Kai Havertz in my team. And for me, he's the player that Hansi Flick probably wants. Now, like I said, backing Hansi Flick doesn't only mean selling players or buying players. It could mean selling players too. If you sell Boateng, which I don't think should happen, or I don't think it will happen, but let's just say you sell Boateng and get a different center back in, apparently that should be backing. Upamecano. We wanted Upamecano. I think Hansi Flick wanted Upamecano, and Bayern inquired. Upamecano said, yes, sure. They offered something, Bayern, and Upamecano probably agreed. But the thing is, Bayern didn't want to pay the 40 or 60 million release clause, and then Leipzig didn't want to lower it. So Leipzig opted to stay with Upamecano, even with his contract almost expiring, and they are trying to convince him to renew his contract. I think that's what happened. I don't know how it couldn't have happened, because why would we have wanted Upamecano around that time when Hansi Flick got the full-time job? I feel like Hansi Flick has said to the board, hey, I want these players. I want these players in these positions. And the board looked at Upamecano and they said, okay. But now we couldn't get Upamecano, so the board looked at a player that we've been looking at since 2017, Tanguy Kausi, brought him in. That's still not a Hansi Flick full-on backing. For me, a full-on backing is signing a player the manager wants and wants to use. Because Hansi Flick has a certain philosophy. You can see how we use the in between the lines. Sane will be a right winger. He'll be in that half space. We'll have wingers like that. And you still don't have that Hansi Flick feel 100%. And not only that, I still feel like we don't have enough depth. Perisic, Coutinho leave. That's 2 attackers. All of a sudden, we're left with 5 players for 4 positions. And we don't even know if all of them are going to stay fit. What if Lewandowski picks up a knock? But let's say Lewandowski and Müller never get injured, which is probably probable. Let's say they don't. Well, Sane can get injured. He's just coming back from an ACL rupture, so he could still pick up an injury and be out for a year. Coman gets injured all the time. So does Gnabry. So now we're looking at it. We technically only really are putting ourselves in trouble, because we have 5 players for 4 positions. And guess what? Next year, there'll be midweek fixtures like crazy because of the Euros, the African Cup of Nations, and Copa America. So you have all these competitions going on between players, and Bayern are playing pretty much sometimes 3 games in 7 days. You're telling me that we don't need more players? Kai Havertz would be absolutely perfect, and Hansi Flick would love that. Next player, ladies and gentlemen, but with Havertz it's cold because we're not currently looking at him, and that's what I mean. This guy, Shabowski or something like that, coming out from Salzburg, a player that a lot of people have been talking about. He's one of those players that Bayern haven't been necessarily linked to, but I think he's probably going to end up at AC Milan or something, because there's no way he goes to Bayern. I thought he would probably go to RB Leipzig from Salzburg. That would be so funny. Imagine he goes there and Leipzig just get a baller out of nowhere, and people are like, who's this guy? And then they just realize it's him. Well, I don't know. Not exactly sure, but Leipzig already having Kunku and all these players creatively. They don't need more players. But for me, yeah, I don't know why not. But this isn't the Hansi Flick signing. This would just be a Bayern coping with losing Havertz signing. So, Camavinga, that's the next player we're talking about. Very, very cold though. All of these players are cold because Bayern haven't really had a lot of news come out in the last few days, and it makes No sense. Is Serginho Dest here, ladies and gentlemen? We have no Serginho Dest. We'll put Dest in here. But a lot of these players are cold because they haven't been linked to as much as the other players on this list. And also Camavinga looks like we're probably just never going to really get to a player like him. Not saying we won't attract him. No, I'm just saying Real Madrid are probably going to sign him to replace Casemiro, who's already 28. So, I would love this type of player though. But with Tanguy Kausi coming in, I highly doubt we go for a physical CDM like him, because Kausi is very competent in that position. This guy's one of those players like a Javi Martinez where he just sticks his leg in and makes a billion tackles, and he wins you that defensive battle in the midfield very easily by himself. But is he a player that Bayern need? Would he be adding to our midfield? If Thiago leaves, you can make the case for it, because Thiago technically is our highest tackler and most prominent tackler at the club. I don't think anyone else comes close to Thiago in that regard. He's making the most tackles and interceptions. So with Thiago leaving, you'd always think that Bayern should get someone like a Camavinga, who has a lot of technical ability, but his main strength is his defensive impetus on the midfield. And I would love that, but I would like a priority into the central attacking midfielder position, because we have Adrian Fine coming in. We also happen to have Cousins. God, I almost threw up saying his name. I love you, Cousins. I don't hate you, man. I love you. But we also have Cousins coming in with Fine, Goretzka, Kimmich. I feel like we're fine. Yeah, seriously. We don't really necessarily need Camavinga. So for me, he's cold, but also it just doesn't make any sense. If Thiago was to leave or even run down his contract, you still don't even need a midfielder. I think we should focus on getting more attackers and a right back. And speaking of right back, Serginho Dest. Over the last few weeks, there's been less and less information about Dest, but what we know is that Bayern are definitely interested. Bayern would like to sign him, but the price that Ajax are demanding is maybe too high. I am still convinced that Bayern will sign a right back and also a backup winger / central attacking midfielder this season. The rest of the season, I still think Bayern will want to go in for Havertz. But if we lose out, then there's always other options, and there are a lot of players out there. It's not just Havertz or nothing, all right? Havertz is obviously just a statement signing. This would also be backing Hansi Flick getting Serginho Dest, because remember in the press conference, he said Bayern need width, and that's a right back. He also mentioned right back specifically with pace. And Serginho Dest would add something different to Pavard, a more attacking impetus, which would mean that maybe Pavard goes to center back. And obviously I'd prefer that, because Pavard wins a lot of headers and he's relatively, not faster. He's not even quick. He has the pace that you need. So he could really work at center back, Pavard. But right back wise, Pavard is a better right back at the moment than Serginho Dest. But you always feel like Serginho Dest is young and he can get there. But I don't see this as a signing that I'd want because of his ego. The kid has an ego, okay? Leave me some grief or something. Oh, man. I was reading an interview. This guy sounds weird. He sounds like one of those guys to be like, oh, yeah, I'm proud. You should be proud to be my boyfriend, to be my girlfriend. Like, if he had a girl, you should be happy that I chose you. Nah, he sounds like that type of guy, man. If he comes here and he's like, I want to develop at Bayern, oh, man, I'm punching you in the face, because that's not the type of attitude I want you as a Bayern player to have. Seriously, I do think he has some work to do defensively as a player, but he's a player that I can definitely see at Bayern. He has a nice little flair about him. I think our board like those types of players. Not all our board. I'd say Karl-Heinz Rummenigge definitely would look at him and say, I like him, because he has technical ability, which is why I like Karl-Heinz Rummenigge so much. He likes that, in a player. I do like that too, man. I like when a player has something different about them that I can look and go, oh, bro, you have some tech. So I do think it's hot. Serginho Dest is definitely looking like a hot transfer topic at Bayern. He's probably getting constantly discussed. And someone made a great point. Of course, we could miss out on Havertz, okay. But the club are working on other deals. Bayern's not done. They're not done with this. Because if you look at our squad, we don't have enough depth in some important freaking competitions or some important positions. We don't have a right back other than Pavard if Odriozola's gone, and he is leaving. We don't have a central attacking midfielder as a backup for Muller. So even if we don't get Kai Havertz, we will get a central attacking midfielder or a winger that can cover there. We don't have that many players. And people can just say, oh, well, get some youngsters. Look, that's not how it works, my guy. That's not how it works. It's like you're saying it. This doesn't make any sense to me when people say get youngsters in. You have to understand that Hansi Flick and coaching staff and there's data people, they're constantly looking at these micro details in our youngsters. And maybe a lot of them just aren't ready. And what, are we going to just wait? What? We're not in the Europa League. We're struggling to win the Champions League every year. The Bayern board say it. Why don't the fans expect our signings to reflect that? If Bayern is trying to win the Champions League every single year, then we should be getting a depth that's competent enough to be winning it. We should be having quality in depth, not just you youngsters. Of course, you need a good mix of both, but you also need to understand that you can't just tell a youngster like Chris Richards, oh, you can start right back. Oh, Pavard's injured. You are right back now. No, we need depth and quality as well. If we have a right back that's almost world class, then Pavard getting injured won't be as of a pain. Because I just don't understand why people can't, well, not almost world class. I mean like, top, really good right back. Not like we need to get a world class right back. Speaking of right backs, there's also Yusuf Altau, very, very decent player. He looks like a good player, but Bayern aren't linked to him. There haven't been many stories. This is just a lot of you saying it, and I've said it too. I look at his clips. This guy looks very, very fast. He's also incredibly strong for a guy who's only like 5'9", 5'10". So very, very good player. And Dodo, don't do it. Dodo. Yeah, he's a very good player. I think, nah, he's like 5'5". Of course, Philipp Lahm was 5'7", 5'8", but this ain't my type of baller, man. Especially when he's Brazilian. I feel like he's gonna be another Dani Alves, where, well, it wouldn't be bad to have another Dani, but you know what I mean. I just don't really think he's my cup of tea as a player. But yeah, thank you everyone so much for watching. It's been the Meter Show. I hope you all really, really, very much enjoyed this. I think it's the end of the Meter Show. And I am very, very happy to basically bring this to you. I will continue to bring more, and I'm trying to switch this up, but it's not working. And it's the Meter Show. Hopefully, tell me what you think. Leave in the comments the players that you like. Mia-san Flick, if you're watching all the way to this point. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Mia-san Mia, and peace. Mia-san Flick, Mia-san Mia. Yeah, pretty freaking funny, to be honest.